Hello, my friends, and welcome back. My name is Justus Knight. I can't thank you enough for being here. I would first like to start out the broadcast by giving a shout out to Steve Quayle. Steve, thank you so much for all your help. If you guys haven't checked out Steve's website, you'll see the link below. An amazing set of information posted right here. He has been one of two people that have helped springboard my entire start into YouTube, the other being Lisa Haven, both of which I cannot thank enough. Secondly, if you have not had a chance yet to join me on USA.life, please do. We need to move away from the suppression platforms. And finally, if you have the means to support me via my Patreon link, I certainly hope you will. Nowadays, with all the censorship and suppression, it is the only way I have to bring these broadcasts to you. Broadcasts like today, which I'm going to outline to you the globalist battle plan in its, one arm of its entirety. It's going to be extremely eye-opening to you. It's going to put a lot of things into perspective. We're going to get through it as fast as we can, but this information is critical because you should have had a few questions pop up in your mind when you see articles like this. Note to Democrats, Americans don't like your policies. Well, what is this article talking about? Most specifically, it's talking about, let's start with the obvious. Of course, Donald Trump's talk about busing illegal immigrants to sanctuary cities is a political stunt designed to heartlessly exploit the issue for his political gain. However, they go on to say, according to a poll which I'm about to show you, most people don't support sanctuary cities in America. Would you have known that by all the banter going on throughout all mainstream media headlines? Sanctuary cities get a big thumbs down, even from Hispanics. An IBD TIPP poll, which I could show you the technicals of it, but it's kind of boring because at the end of the day, it's just not supported by America. But you would never know that by listening to all the talking heads. Let's not even take into consideration the funding going into sanctuary cities, mapping $27 billion in federal funding of America's sanctuary cities. But a lot of these here listed are in trouble because they're not allowing ICE to do their job, deport illegal immigrants, question prisoners. So the feds are saying, we're going to pull your funding. And if you ever want to know how much the sanctuary cities in your state are being paid, I will put a link to this map below. Simply highlight it, click on it, and it will give you all the federal funding and how much they've been awarded. It's an extremely eye-opening set of information. Now, the Center for Immigration Studies, here you'll see the sanctuary city map, which is a lot larger than most people realize. This is counties, cities, and states involved in the overall platform. Now, down in the very bottom, you're going to see those who are in trouble. The darker colored pins are those that the feds are about to pull funding from. And there's still some under consideration, and then some that should be okay. But once again, remember this map for 1 second because it's a part of a much bigger plot. And yes, once the UN is involved, you know it's a globalist plot. Around 2.5 billion more people will be living in cities by 2050, projects new UN report. Sounds ominous, doesn't it? Well, the same UN that's promoting megacities. More megacities to come. By 2030, 43 cities around the globe will have 10 million or more inhabitants. The megacity growth. Now, there's a lot of plus. We could talk about megacities on a broadcast all of its own. But this is a plan to control America. One that is being executed flawlessly. Now we're going to start treading into it. This is the map of population divisions, world urbanization prospects. This was back in 17 to 90. Then you could go 1990 to 2018. And finally 2018 to 2030, just so you see how they're projecting things are going to change. Many of you know about Agenda 21, and this will play right into the hand of Agenda 21 or Agenda 2030. Whew, a lot of information. Right now, we're not going to cover the bad parts of megacities. Growing megacities will displace vast traces of farmland by 2030. Another report, by 2030, megacities may devour more than 86 million acres of prime farmland. I'm going to stay away from that because what it's actually going to devour is the American way of life. And no, that's not a far-fetched ideal. This, published on Breitbart, Office of Refugee and Resettlement, places 234,000 migrant children in all 50 states. Well, Justice, how is this playing into your overall point? It goes really quickly. Why should states that protect illegal immigrants, those sanctuary cities, those sanctuary counties, those sanctuary states, be rewarded with more political power. Well, there's your first puzzle piece. So if the UN wants to create megacities, of which we could cover a whole different vast amount of information if it's easier to control a major population in one area, just ask China. But we're going to stay away from that. We're just going to go simply for the vote. More specifically, this movement right now, the National Popular Vote Movement, agreement among the states to elect the president by national popular vote, moving away from the current electoral college system. Did you know that if you went through this is a movement? Actually, I'll give you a current headline because it might help. This is all in regards to Article 2, Section 1. The executive power shall be vested in a president of the United States of America. He shall hold his office during the term of 4 years, and together with the vice president chosen for the same term, be elected as follows. Each state shall appoint in such manner as the legislature thereof may direct, up to the state as to how they decide, a number of electors equal to the number of senators and representatives to which the state may be entitled in the Congress. So now this brings up a whole different schematic, because obviously President Trump did not win the popular vote. He wasn't the only one. There was actually 5 candidates that didn't. John Quincy Adams, Rutherford B. Hayes, Benjamin Harrison, George Bush, and then Donald Trump. And nobody's been able to let this go. So this movement starts. New Mexico, I think it was yesterday, the latest state to approve the National Popular Vote movement. Well, once they get a majority, they can change the way we elect officials. So if we're going to tie this to immigration and megacities, now suddenly the Electoral College, which was there to protect the interest of the entire state, not just those portions that the majority of the population sits within, megacities, if you abolish that and we go to a popular vote, how does that change the way we elect our officials? To understand a little bit more, we have to understand who's pushing the National Popular Vote movement. And we're going to hear from a few. The first, John Koza. Let's just listen to his interview.
Have the president of the United States elected by the most popular votes, but our method of achieving it is inside the Constitution, because the Constitution gives the state legislatures the exclusive power to determine how the members of the Electoral College are selected.
So there you have it from one of the founders himself. We're going to move forward to who's bankrolling the National Popular Vote movement. Just go to the next step. Stephen M. Silberstein Foundation made donations totaling $1 million to National Popular Vote in 2008 to 2012. So let's do a little bit of research on them. Go to Influence Watch. The foundation was established by Stephen Silberstein in Belvedere, California in May of 1998. Records indicate the foundation held more than $112 million in assets and donated about $6 million to left-of-center causes. Nearly every major progressive policy and advocacy group in the U.S. has received money from Silberstein in recent years. That's one step. Now we can go to the Sandler Foundation, which contributed $100,000 in 2010. The organization's 2015 filings for the Internal Revenue Service shows it gave millions to liberal groups, including the Center for American Progress, the American Civil Liberties Union, Earth Justice California. So California continues to come up, kind of going back to my broadcast from yesterday. Earth Justice California, and the Center for Budget and Policy Priorities. The Sandler Foundation did not respond to inquiries from the Daily Signal. And also the Tides Foundation. Many of you understand who the Tides Foundation is. A progressive 501c3 donor advised. This is where basically, and we'll just read what it says here. The Tide Foundation financially practices have been characterized as dark money for allowing contributors to Tides to obscure the direction of funds to other left-wing organizations. So far, the founders of the National Vote, getting rid of the Electoral College, going to the National Popular Vote only, have all been left of center. You can go a little bit further to the chairman, Koza. who was inventor of the scratch-off lottery ticket. Koza has been a donor to the Democratic candidates in federal elections. Politico reported that Koza spent $14 million promoting the popular vote compact, and then he planned to budget $2 million per year from there on. Koza contributed, I'm going to move up a little bit here, the maximum amount of money to House Speaker Senator Pelosi, Representative, and I don't really need to read all this. These are all Democratic candidates. And now we're going to get to the main driver and one of the main driving forces behind all the globalist agendas. There you go. The Jennifer and Jonathan Allen Soros Foundation gave $1 million to the National Popular Vote movement. That would trigger concern in anybody's head. Why is Soros in charge of trying to change the electoral system? Because Soros knows that everything is moving to megacities. Here's the emerging mega regions of the United States. And if I was to overlay the mega regions of the United States, this larger map here, with sanctuary cities, you'll see stark similarities between where those populations reside. So the promotion of sanctuary cities also promoted on top of mega regions, bringing mass amounts of immigrants into those population centers, and then pushing a popular vote platform will help you understand how exactly this battle plan has been laid. We're about to lose our elections forever. 20 metro areas are home to 6 in 10 unauthorized immigrants in the U.S. Now let's just overlay all 3 of these maps. Did everything just come into focus for you? Because when you push illegal immigrants or immigrants in general into these population centers, these mega city centers, and then abolish the Electoral College, assuring that the mass amounts of the votes within those areas now decide the presidency. And many of you say, well, that's our process. Is it? Because this national popular vote, which is gaining steam quickly, once it has the majority of states, the majority of Electoral College votes, it can change our system. It should startle you. Rise of the megacities in China ahead of the curve. Is China ahead of the curve? Because they've already done this. Now, they did it simply to control their populations, building these monstrosities, what were ghost cities, but now which are suddenly becoming populated, because the easiest way to control a population is to have it within a central region. And why is Soros pledging to invest up to $500 million in migrant refugees? Because you have to go through how people vote and get away from the conspiracy theory of everything else. So is George Soros and his foundation successful in moving immigrants into the United States to change our entire system? Here's a map from 1962, and you'll see when it's darker in color, that means the amount of people are darker red. That's the biggest country that has people leaving. The darkest blue is the most people arriving. So in 1962, Russification spurs emigration west. Chinese flee the Great Famine. France takes in Algerians. Germany, Greeks, and Turks. Now we're going to go to 1972. Most U.S. immigration is coming from Europe, which is absorbing immigrants from the East. 1982, U.S. immigration is now split between Europe and Central America. Now, we have the greatest country on the planet. So, of course, we're going to have more immigration. Until that becomes more of a devious undertaking. You'll see we're in dark blue. Now in 1992, end of USSR sends migrants to Germany. New Afghan government lures ex-refugees northward migration to the U.S. You see how migration to the U.S. and migration to the U.S. and migration to the U.S. 2002, here we go again. USSR breakup slows emigration from Eastern Europe. China and India, emigration grows. So now people are leaving China and India. Now 2012, there you see the United States expand again. Emigrants leaving their country, flee from war-torn Sudan and Syria. Record immigration to the United States. So why is that so impactful? Well, let's just go back to the last election and let's take a little history lesson. First of all, we know that the attack by the liberal agenda has been on our children, and you'll see the younger the age group, the more they vote Democratic. Now we're going to vote for Democrats. Now we're going to go into race. White, 57% voted for Trump. and non-white, 74% voted for the Democrat candidate Hillary Clinton. You'll see the dispersion here between each of the races. And then we're going to go one step further. Were you born a U.S. citizen? No, 64% voted for the Democratic candidate Hillary Clinton. First-time voters, 57% voted for Hillary Clinton. So if that plan isn't now crystal clear to you and you don't understand the nature by which George Soros and his globalist organizations and the UN know that the more immigrants that they can push into the United States, into the megacities, abolishing the Electoral College, forever taking over the vote of the United States is the ultimate battle plan, now outlined for you in clear daylight, because they have it as the national popular vote. They have it as their platform. They have it as the way to take over America. And they're shrouding it in everything with all these other theories out there, and all the waste of time that you and I have to listen to is simply overlaying the fact that they have found a way, once and for all, to take over America. The battle plan has been laid. It is in full action, as you see here. And I will continue to bring you updated articles when we have ones like this. New Mexico is the latest state to approve the national popular vote, because this has continued to move forward and more states have signed on. And that we need to be very concerned about, because I've now shown you exactly how they have been so successful in what has been a flawless plan to take over the United States of America. So until next time, if you haven't had a chance to subscribe, I certainly hope you will. I want to continue to bring you this information. Please help me share these videos wherever possible, and stay tuned right afterwards. You'll see the recommended videos I have for you, and I hope you enjoy those also. So Godspeed and God bless. Until next time, Justus Knight, signing out.